Tracker RMS Evolution, Recruitment Workflow, Video 2. In this video, we're going to cover how to finish completing a job placement. That includes working within the shortlist, and that is the place where we can send candidate resumes both internally and externally. The next step would then to be arrange an interview with the candidate. That will allow you to send confirmations out to both the candidate and the contact. From there, we'll then take a look at rejections, how to extend an offer to a candidate, and then once the candidate accepts the offer, how to place them, and then update job dates and values. Let's go ahead and get started. In the first video, we covered how to create the job itself. Here we filled out all the details that we needed, and then we jumped into the long list, did a search, and found our best candidates. We've now added those candidates to our shortlist, and we want to work with those candidates to submit their resumes and move them through the hiring process. You'll see that in our shortlist, we're viewing the card view. This is going to be a bright, colorful, easy way to see where each candidate is sitting in that particular job. Since we've only just shortlisted everyone, they are sitting in the shortlisted card. As we move them through the process, they will hop from card to card until you have the amount of candidates you need working. We also have a view called List View, which the button is over to the right. If you click on that, it will show us our candidates, but in a list view. You will have the same functionality in this area here, so we'll take a look at that as soon as we go through the card view. Before we go over the submittal process and through the hiring, let's take a look at some of the options that you have for contacting a candidate or making updates if you need to the candidate record. If you hover over the card for the candidate, you'll see two buttons appear. One will be a down arrow and the other one will be a cog. The first one, the down arrow, if you open that, here's how you can chat with candidates if needed. So you can send an email or a template. If you have text messaging set up, you can send a text message. You can also send a form if needed, if you've used our custom form creator in Tracker. You then have all the phone numbers listed that we have in Tracker in their record. You can use that to click to dial. You can also come down here to View Candidate, which would open up a preview window of that candidate so you can see their resume if needed, keywords on the resume that are highlighted, any job history that we have on that candidate. You'll also see an activity page here, so this is all the activities that have been done with this particular candidate. You then have a listings tab here, which will show you all the short listings or placement that this candidate has been on. You can then click the summary to get a quick snippet of their actual candidate record. And then you also have the note tab here, and that will show you any notes that have been written up about that candidate on their record. Another thing to keep in mind is in the top right corner of this preview, you can click here and find many of the same options that I just showed you earlier. You can also undock this if you'd like to have multiple open to compare different resumes. You can have that open and open up other ones as well. Going back to the down arrow here, you can then open the candidate record if you'd like to go right to the candidate record. You also have the option to create an agency resume or open an agency resume. And what that is, an agency resume would be a place where you can take out all the contact details for that candidate, add your own logo to this, and what we call blind it out. So when you send it over to the client does not have any contact information for that particular candidate. Going back to the down arrow here, you then have the Action Candidate menu, and this would be how you would move the candidate through the hiring process. You then have Login Activity as well, and what that is if you've had a previous activity with this person and you'd like to log it, you can choose from any one of these activities, enter in the details, save and close, and that will have any activities logged against them as well as the job. If you find you need to remove the candidate from the shortlist, you also have that option here at the bottom. The next option here is the cog. The cog will allow you to click in and see the placement record for this candidate on this job. Here you'll see their status on the job, the contact point, the contact on the job. You can add notes in here as well, and if you have any custom fields, they may be listed here or in another tab. You also have the Financials tab where you can enter financial details at the end. The Activities tab where you can see all the activities that have been completed with this candidate on this job. And then if you're going to be using timesheets, you have that section here, or our online portal can be found here as well. Keep in mind, in the top right corner, we do have an Actions button that is very much the same as the other Actions button, just in case you need to action out and use any of these options at the top here. Now that we've gone through that, let's go through the resume submittal. So our first step is going to be to internally submit this resume to one of my colleagues for review. To send a single resume, hover over the candidate, click on that down arrow, and go to Action Candidate. You can then click on Send Candidate Resume. From here, you'll get a window where you want to choose the person that you're going to send this to. Now, it will default to the contact on the job, but if you click in here, you can choose any one of your colleagues to review this resume. We're going to leave the send method as email, and then you'll see here the candidate name. It's checked off that we're sending out an agency resume, and the primary resume in the candidate's record has been previously selected. Now, if that's not the resume that you would like to send out, you can click on the down arrow and find all the resumes that are attached to Alex Norman's candidate record and choose any one of these. Once you're ready, go ahead and click Preview to preview the template. Now at the top, you'll see your own information in the from. You'll see your colleague in the to. And now we want to choose the template that we want to send. So over on the right-hand side, you'll click on that drop-down menu and choose the different template that you would like to send out. Today we'll choose Internal Submittal. You'll see that the subject is updated for the internal submittal, and then you have your pre-filled out template here. Now if you want to make any changes, you can, or you can add anything that you would like to the template text itself. Once you're happy with that, you'll scroll down. You'll then see in the attachment section the agency resume for our candidate. If you'd like to add any other attachments, you can click on the plus and add any attachments from Inside Tracker. Below that, you'll see all the links on this job. So this activity will be linked to the job itself. It will be linked to Alex's placement record on the job, Alex's candidate record, and it will also be connected to the contact on the job as well. So that would be the 4 places you'll be able to see this activity once we send it out. You'll then see the options below on how to create follow-ups. So here, remind me to follow up on this by telephone tomorrow can be checked off if you'd like to create yourself an auto follow-up. But if you don't want it to be for yourself and you want to have a colleague follow-up, they can click where you can click where it says me, choose one of your colleagues. You can then say to follow up on this by, and if you don't want it to be a telephone call, you can click here and change the activity type. And if you didn't want it to be tomorrow, you can click on tomorrow and choose a different date here. Once we send off this template, it would automatically create that activity for you. Now you'll see below, also update placement status to resume sent internally. This was set up previously on the template itself, so you do not need to edit that unless you want to make changes to your workflow. And then you'll also see that the job status is going to update. Again, that was something that was preset on the template itself, so that is normally your set workflow, and I probably wouldn't make any changes to this unless for some reason this job is slightly different than your normal. If there's something else you would like to update where it says also update something, click on something, choose one of these options if needed, and follow any other instructions. Once you're ready to go ahead and click send. And now you'll see that Alex has moved over to resume review. His placement record status has resume sent internally. And then at the top here, the job has changed to resume sent internally for review. We also give you the option to send internal resumes in bulk. If you would like, hover over the card, click on the bubbles for as many candidates as you would like. You'll then want to click on the action button at the top here, which is our bulk action button, and then click on Send Candidate Resumes. You'll then go through the same process here by previewing the template, sending that template off, and those candidates would move over to resume review. Now, if for some reason you would just like a visual on these resume submittals, you can pick up the card and drag it to the correct spot that they need to be in. Now, this will update their placement status record to resume sent internally or to whatever card you've put it in here. Now, keep in mind that does not function anything. It does not send out emails, and you will not get credit as a user for the resume submittal because you have not followed the use of our templates. But if it is something you would like to do, you are more than welcome. Our next step would normally be to send the resume to the client. Now, the best thing about this is you're going to use those same steps that you did, but just use a different template to send out this to the client. So we'll go ahead and click on that down arrow. We'll then click on Action Candidate and Send Candidate Resume. From here, we have the same screen, but here, the Send To automatically associates to the contact on the job. Now, if for some reason that is not the person at the company that you're trying to send the resume to, if you click here, all the contacts for the company that we are associated with in this job will be listed here. Right now, this record is the only contact, so we'll leave it at that. We'll click on Preview. Again, it's going to be the very same thing we did earlier for the internal submissions, but now we're going to want to choose the template to send to client. So it had already been selected as resume sent to client. You'll see here all the details, make any edits that you need. We can go ahead and hit send, and that will move the candidate over to resume sent. The placement record status is now resume sent to client, and the job status has changed to resume sent to client. We do give you the option to do that in bulk as well. So from here, again, you'll click the bubbles, click the action, click on Send Candidate Resumes. You'll get to the template here, go ahead and hit send, and they will be moved over to resume sent. Now, we do know some of you are still using your emails to send out these resumes and not using the templates in Tracker. If you'd like to get credit for a resume submittal that you sent outside of Tracker, what you're going to do is hover over the card itself, click on that down arrow, go down to Action Candidate, and click on Mark as Resume Sent. What that'll do is bring that card over. It'll make the placement record resume sent to client. The job will also sit at resume sent to client. And me as a user will get credit for sending out that resume even though I did not use Tracker to send it. Now, the next step in the hiring process is arranging interviews with your candidates. You can do that singly or in bulk from this short list here. To do it on a single candidate, hover over the candidate card again and click on that down arrow. You'll then go down to Action Candidates and click on Arrange an Interview. Here, you'll get the beginnings of how to send out this interview confirmation. The interviewer will be the contact on the job, and that will be pre-selected. You can then choose the interview type, and then the location where the interview will take place. Now, keep in mind, if you have a location on the Profile tab of the job, it will pull through to here. But if for any reason that is not the place where the interview is going to take place, you can remove those details and enter where this person should go for the interview. Now, the location field is mandatory, so do make sure you fill that out. You'll then see the candidate here, and the date for the interview as well as the time needs to be set. So here you'll go in and choose the date. You can then go in and choose the time. You can either use the sliders or you can just type in here. If you want to send a confirmation to the candidate, you're going to want to check this off. If you do not check off send a confirmation, what you're doing is scheduling the interview inside Tracker so you as a user get credit for that interview, but the candidate will not be informed of that. If you would like the candidate to know, make sure to check this off here. You also below have the opportunity to send an interview confirmation to the interviewer or contact on the job. This will let them know that Alex Norman will be coming on September 14th at 2 p.m. for an interview. If you do want to send them one, you can choose any of these here. If you do not, select the blank and you will not send a template to the contact. If you'd like to send a template out to the candidate with the same details, again that their interview is on the 14th at 2 p.m. at 171 Saxony Road, you'll choose a template here to send out to the candidate. Also, you'll see that Include ICS Attachments has already been checked off. What that means is that in those templates that we're sending out to either the contact and or the candidate, they will have a calendar invite attached to that template. That way, they can open up that email either on their desktop and add that to their calendar on their desktop computer, or if they open it up on their phone, they can add that appointment to their phone calendar. Once we hit OK, that template has been automatically sent out. You'll see that Alex has been moved to the interview tab and he is sitting at a first interview status. The job itself has also been changed to first interview. Now, if you would like to send interview confirmations in bulk, you can do so. Again, our bulk action is to always hover over the card, click on the bubbles or the pictures if you've added any, and then in our bulk action button here, click on Arrange Interviews. The great thing about this is each candidate will receive their own email with their own details. They will not see each other's names or any of the other details. The contact will also receive 2 separate emails with 2 separate attachments for their calendar invites. So you'll see the top information is the same. You'll want to add the location in. You can then choose that Mania's interview is on Friday and change the time if needed. Alman may have an interview on Tuesday at a different time. Once I check these off, I hit OK, and they will be moved on to interview here, and the status of the job has not changed from first interview. Now, to arrange any other interviews going forward, whether it be bulk or singly, you'll follow the same steps, but you'll see as I go through them, the placement record status will change. I'm going to leave these details here and hit OK. You'll then see that Alex is now sitting at second interview, and it's got 2 dots after it for a quick view to see that he is on the second interview. You can go through that until you hit your last interview stage, and your status will continue to update until you hit your last interview stage. Now let's take a look at rejections. If you're the type of recruiter that likes to pick up the phone and let your candidate know that they've been rejected and not send an email out, to reflect that in the job itself, all you'll need to do is click on their card and drag it on over to the rejected area here. Now, their placement status will change to the first rejection reason in the drop-down menu, so that may not necessarily be the reason that they were rejected. If you'd like to change that, click on the placement status button, go to the status, and change the rejected reason to whatever you have listed here that fits their reason that this candidate was rejected. I think it's really important to put the real reason why candidates are rejected, only because this job will stay in the history of Manny inside Tracker, and you'll be able to see the furthest status that he reached on this job. Now, if for some reason this candidate rejects every single job that you put them for, you may want to have a talk with them and find out why. Also, if maybe the client rejects this candidate every single time he does an interview, maybe it would be a good reason to pick up the phone and chat with Manny and see if he needs some help on the interview process. Once you've changed the status to the correct status for the rejection, go ahead and hit Save and Close. Now you can also send out an email as a rejection if you would like by clicking on the down arrow for the card of the candidate, clicking on Send Email to Candidate. You'll then choose the template here. Now you can choose any template that you have for rejections, and keep in mind the template name will not be seen by the candidate. What I have done is I've created very similar emails for the rejection reason, but I've added the name into the template because I am updating the placement status with whatever that template name is. Since there are a couple reasons somebody can be rejected, this particular one is rejected by client, but the body of the email would not say that. It would just let them know that they have been rejected. If I go ahead and hit send, that candidate will be rejected and moved over to the rejected pile. Now that we've gone through most of the hiring process, we've gotten to the best part, extending an offer. Now the offer extension works very much the same as the rejected option worked. If you picked up the phone and let the candidate know that they have been extended an offer, you can pick up that card, drag it on over to the offer tile, and you'll see that the placement record status changes to offer pending, and the job status changes to offer pending. Now, if you would like to send an email out for the offer, you definitely can. You'll use the same instructions we did earlier by clicking on that down arrow, clicking on Send Email to Candidate, going to choose a template and finding your job offer template. It may have a slightly different name. You can edit anything that you need in the email itself. You can also add attachments such as applications if you need by clicking on the empty area if you want to find a file on your computer, or if the document is listed in Tracker somewhere, you can click on the blue plus, type in the record where that document is located, and find that document. Once you've updated this as you need, go ahead and hit send. The candidate will then be brought over to offer pending, and the job status will sit at offer pending. Now that the offer has been extended, we can go ahead and place Alex on the job once he accepts. In order to do that, we're going to want to go into the placement record and fill out all the details we need. So first, we can click right here into the placement record, go to the status, and change the status to on billing, on assignment, or whatever your terminology is for when a candidate is working on a contract position. You can fill out any details in this placement record pertaining to this position if needed from here, but the most important part is going to be the financials. On the Financials tab, we're going to fill out the placement dates for this candidate. So his start date is going to be September 24th, and he will finish up September 24th, 2019. You also have a place to put his start time and end time. Now keep in mind, these details can be put into a template and sent off to the candidate or the contact depending on who needs it. You can even send it internally to your accounts receivable or accounts payable department. So if this is important to you, do make sure to fill out the correct details. If it's not something you need, you can just leave with whatever has been pre-filled out and move on to the next field. For the days of the week, you can click on when this person would be working. This will help with our availability calendar. You will see that in a candidate record. It will show you the days when the candidate is working and not working. You then also have units in the day if you'd like to fill that out, so how many working units they have in that day. The next part is going to be the placement rates. So here you're going to want to put in Alex's pay rate and his charge rate, which can also be known as a bill rate. You can also fill out the overtime pay rate and overtime charge rate where applicable. You'll then see, since the charge period is hourly, here a breakdown will give you their placement record the placement value for this job. You can also click on the drop-down menu and add any taxes, margins, or burdens that you have preloaded in Tracker. Now keep in mind your list might be slightly different. You can add anyone's and as many as you would like. Once you've set that up, you can go ahead and hit Save and Close. And what that will do is move Alex to the working tile here. You'll see that he is set as on billing, and the job has now been placed. The job will be removed from your open jobs and put into your one jobs. Now, one thing you can do inside that placement record as well is update the job dates and values for the job itself. Now, we entered all of these values for Alex on the job. If you click up on the action menu here and scroll down to the bottom, you'll see update job dates and values. What that will do is update the job dates and values that we filled out previously when we entered the job. They'll be located in one of the tabs on the left-hand side of the job. You'll see here the dates it needs to update, the times, the value, and the rates. So am I sure I want to update? I'll hit yes. It'll let me know the job has been updated. I'm going to hit Save and Close on that placement record. And then I'll take a look at the profile here. Go down to the job dates and values, and you'll see the start date has changed, the end date has changed, and my job value has been updated with what was on the placement record. Now, if you have more than one person on a job at a time, you may not want to use that update job dates and values because the start date and end date may vary, and you may want to add in a grand total of the job value by adding up all the separate placements on that particular job. Now let's go back to the shortlist and take a look at the list view that I described earlier. I'm going to go back and click on the shortlist button here, and then over on the right, click on list view. The list view is just that. It gives us everything in a list instead of the card format. But you'll see our actions button here is going to be those same buttons that you saw on the cards for each candidate. So if you click on the button that faces down here, you can use the action candidate option here or send email to candidate to send out different templates. You can also get to the placement record by clicking on the placement record button, and you'd see all the same information that you saw on that first card view. This area here allows you to add different columns if you would like more columns to view regarding the candidate itself. You can add or remove any columns that you would like by checking and unchecking. You can also drag and drop these columns to be wherever you would like them to be. Last but not least, you can sort these columns as you need wherever you see these arrows. If you'd like to work in bulk, all you'll need to do is check off the boxes all the way to the left of the candidates. You'll then see our action menu here, and this will give you the bulk actions that you saw on that card view. Now we also have a filter button if you'd like to use that all the way over to the right, and this functions on the card view or the list view. Here you can pull out different statuses if you would like. So if you would like to see only the people that you've shortlisted, only certain statuses if there are a lot of people on the shortlist. You can also show the different types of people if you would like, depending on how they registered with you guys, or you can search that shortlist. You also can color code the different candidates, as you can see over here on the left in the red, amber, green section, and you can filter out just the candidates that are certain colors if you would like. If I go back to the card view, you will see that same filter here as well. Now the job dates and values that we updated were for a contract job, or we called it consulting. You will have the same options if you change that job from a consulting job to a direct hire. Let's hit save only and take a look at how those dates and fees have changed. If I go back to the shortlist and I click on the placement record, you'll see here on the financials, the start date end date has changed to just a start date because that's all that matters. And the placement rate has just changed to a salary. Now keep in mind it pulled over the old details that I had. Normally if you start with a direct hire, it won't fill anything in the salary until you put it in there. You'll have the same way to add any fees and margins if you'd like. And then last but not least, in that Actions button in the top right corner, you can update job dates and values once you've set in their start date and salary for this direct hire position. This job has now been placed, so you can report on it and be able to see that you've placed the job today and any other details that you need from the job itself. That concludes our recruitment workflow video 2. If you have any questions, please reach out to your client success manager by using the chat feature inside Tracker RMS. Also, feel free to create a support ticket if needed.